Hey, man, I'm Jusko from ProudMoney.com. It is time for another exciting edition of What's in My Wallet, this time for the second quarter of 2025, where I tell you which credit cards I'm going to be using in this quarter, and then I'll also tell you about some cards I'm not going to be using and why. Now at the base here for the second quarter, it's going to be the Citi American Airlines Platinum card because I am working on the bonus for this card, that bonus being 75,000 American Airlines miles if I spend $3,500 in the first 4 months of having the card. I got this a few weeks back and I've already been able to rack up about $1,100 or more toward that goal. So I am actually sort of outpacing what I need to be for those 4 months. But this is going to be the card that I use for pretty much anything that doesn't get me 4 or 5% in terms of cash back or points on other cards. And then I'll sort of reassess as the months go by to see how close or far I am from hitting that. I'm not in a super hurry to get my hands on those actual miles. So I just got to make sure that I hit that bonus. But bonuses obviously are always very important, even more so than the sort of everyday rewards you get on cards, because if you think about 75,000 miles on a $3,500 spend, that is more than a 20% return than you are getting on that spend. All right, now let's talk about those places where I will get that 5% or 4% on my various purchases. Always talk about these sort of everyday categories first, and the biggest everyday category I think for most people is groceries, and for me in the second quarter is back to the AAA Daily Advantage Visa. I actually was using I think the Chase Freedom Flex this past quarter for groceries, but this gives you 5% on groceries all the time, and it is just a very good no annual fee card, so I'll be going back to that for groceries. I will mention here that the Discover It card is also offering 5% on grocery store purchases and wholesale club purchases in the second quarter of 2025. I probably am not going to use this at all because I don't particularly care to get cash back on my Discover card versus the card I just talked about. But I did have a very nice first quarter with this card when it was 5% back at restaurants. So thanks for that first quarter, Discover. Oh, and I forgot, I'm also an authorized user on the Blue Cash Preferred card from American Express. This is actually my wife's card that she uses for groceries. You actually get 6% back on this one, but the card does have a $95 annual fee, and it kind of works out for us for various reasons. And then this card also does get 6% back on streaming services, so it will be used for that. Next up is restaurants, perhaps my favorite spending category in the second quarter. I'm actually going to be using sort of a multitude of cards for a couple reasons. First off, I will use the Citi Custom Cash when I am in the US because I can get 5% cash back in the category where I spend the most each billing cycle, and I'll use this card just for restaurants, and then I can get 5% on up to $500 of purchases each billing cycle on those restaurant purchases. Now, I am about to go outside of the US, going to be in London and Paris, and so that means I'm going to have to think about some other cards that I could use, both because I will probably spend far beyond that $500 on the Citi Custom Cash, but even more so because the Citi Custom Cash has foreign transaction fees, and once I'm outside of the US, obviously I want a card that does not have foreign transaction fees. So the Amex Gold will be one of those choices for membership rewards points per dollar at restaurants worldwide on this one, so that will be in the mix. The Citi American Airlines card, again, is going to be back in the mix. It's only going to get 2 American Airlines points per dollar on restaurant purchases, but it has no foreign transaction fees. And again, I'm trying to work toward that bonus. And then sort of as a backup, I'll have the Wells Fargo Autograph card. I don't know if I'll use it or not, but it has no foreign transaction fees, and so I'll take that with me just in case, for whatever reason, I need to use it. And then the third of what I consider the big 3 everyday spending categories is gas. Don't have a great opportunity for 5% in the second quarter from any of the cards I have. So it will be the Verizon Visa, which will give me 4 points per dollar on my gas purchases, which essentially is going to be 4% cash back, but used to offset my Verizon bill. So if you're a Verizon customer, this is a good card to have. It gives you 4% on your gas purchases 4% on groceries, and I can't remember the rest of it. But it gives you a lot of good cash back in your everyday categories here. So if you're a Verizon customer, definitely consider this one. This will be my gas card in the Q2. Now, when it comes to Amazon purchases in the Q2, I usually do use my Amazon Prime card because it's going to give me 5% back on all of my Amazon purchases. However, the Chase Freedom Flex card is offering 5 Ultimate Rewards points per dollar on Amazon purchases in the Q2. It is one of the 5% rotating categories, streaming services being the other. I'm actually probably going to use the Chase Freedom Flex instead of the Amazon card, partially because, you know, sometimes I like to have those Ultimate Rewards points because they are a little more flexible, but partially also because I screwed up and I put a bunch of Chase points into the Hyatt program, did a transfer over via my Chase Sapphire Preferred card, and stupidly somehow thought I was putting more in than I was, and now I have a whole bunch of Hyatt points that aren't actually enough for me to really like get anything from Hyatt. So now I have to earn some more Ultimate Rewards points that I can transfer over to Hyatt and actually use to stay at Hyatt. And then probably the only other credit card that is potentially going to come out of my wallet in the Q2 is the Target Circle card. This is still the old Target Red card design, but is now called the Circle card. Gives you a 5% discount on your Target purchases. As I always say, if you don't have this card, you're paying 5% more at Target than everyone else. Now, I do have a good number of other credit cards that are either not going to get used in the Q2, or maybe they are things where the credit card number is already being used online for some sort of subscription or something along those lines. So among those cards, first, the Citi Double Cash. Generally, this is my fallback card on any purchases that aren't giving me at least 3%. But like I said, because I'm working on an American Airlines card to get that bonus, I'm going to be using that as my fallback, even if it's giving me less in terms of those everyday purchases, because it's giving me such a big bonus once I reach that place. So anyway, Citi Double Cash probably won't get used, although my kids are authorized users on it, so they'll probably still go hog wild. And then my other sort of 2% backup card is the Capital One Venture X, and I especially use this as a backup card if I'm traveling internationally because of the fact that it has no foreign transaction fees, while that Citi Double Cash card does have foreign transaction fees. This is a card, though, that might be on the chopping block this year. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep the Venture X when it comes up for renewal, and I think it's not till November or something like that that I have to absolutely make that decision, but I just don't know if I need to pay the annual fee and deal with the various points and credits on this card. I have so many credit cards that this is a good card for a lot of people, and it's certainly not something that I need to get rid of. It does have a nice big travel credit, and I think it's got some good features to it, but I don't know if I really need it. And like I said in an earlier video when I got the American Airlines card, I'm kind of losing my gusto for airport lounges and really caring about airport lounges as a perk of a credit card. And so obviously Capital One is starting to do some airport lounges and has some nice airport lounges, but I just don't care as much about them. So this may be the last year for it. Now, a card that is definitely on the chopping block this year is the American Express Platinum. This is going to be the last year for this card as far as I am concerned. I get some perks from it. I have used the hotel perks where when you stay at the higher end hotels, I have talked about this in the past, you get late checkout, which can be a really nice thing through their fine hotels and resorts program. And, you know, I'll use the Uber rides and I'll take the Saks credit and all that kind of stuff. But for $6.95, it's really not a card that I personally need. Again, with the airport lounges, even though American Express has the best network as far as that goes between their own lounges and their wider network, I just don't really care all that much about using them, I have found over the last few years. And honestly, probably the same deal for the Chase Sapphire Preferred. This one might be going away as well, even though I say that this is a pretty good sort of starter travel card if you're someone that's never had a travel card before. For me, with the number of cards I have and the experience I have with credit cards, I don't know that I need this one a whole lot anymore. Like I said, I had that snafu with the Hyatt points, so I still need to keep this card long enough to to get enough points to be able to stick some more of them into my Hyatt account. But otherwise, I think this one might be going as well in 2025. I also do have the Wells Fargo Autograph Journey card, not to be confused with the Wells Fargo Autograph card that I mentioned earlier. This one does give you 5% back on your hotel purchases, 4% back on airline purchases, 3% back at restaurants, and some other stuff too. You have a $50 airline credit with this card, so it's got a $95 annual fee, but it's a card I can justify, but I have to say I don't really use it a whole lot. I got it because I wanted the bonus that was with it when the card first came out, and I got that bonus, and so I'll keep it around for a while because that is what I like to do when I get a bonus, is not just, you know, turn around and close the card afterwards, and I don't want to be known as a churner with the credit card companies. But this is one that is a decent card, but it's not going to get any use for me in the short term. I do have the Apple card and Apple TV, and I think Apple Music are on this card, and so it gets some charges, but I don't ever actually take it out, and I don't use Apple Card for anything else. And then finally, I have the old Amex Everyday card that used to be way back, the blue from American Express card, my oldest card, over 20 years old, and so I keep this one alive. It's got no annual fee. It's not hurting me in a way anyway, but it hasn't been used in a very long time, and probably at some point American Express will again threaten me to close it down if I don't use it, and I'll have to figure out something else. But for now, we're still in the game as far as that card goes. And so those are the ones I'm going to use and not use in Q2. I would love to hear the same thing from you in terms of what you're going to be using and not using in the second quarter. Put that down there in that comment section below. Otherwise, I thank you for watching.